Welcome to this webinar, which aims to give you an overview of what you can expect to deliver in a BEC Business seminar. The first thing to think about is who the seminar is aimed at. The BEC Business seminars are either conducted directly for students or for the teachers who will be preparing the students to take the exam. In either case, the same base information will be covered. Where the seminars will differ is the order and focus of each of the segments. So, what are the segments? Broadly speaking, a BEC Business seminar will be covering 4 areas. Firstly, the reasons for choosing the BEC Business exam. Note that you will go into a bit more detail in this section. Secondly, what the makeup of the exam is. You will cover the component parts as well as going through examples of different sections of the exam paper. Thirdly, which levels the exam covers and where these levels come from. Finally, the resources available for support when preparing to take or teach the exam. First of all, you can open your seminar by posing a discussion question on the difficulties facing students in the job market. This will conveniently lead to the next phase. In other words, how to get a competitive advantage. So, the presentation could start with the opening question. What are some of the challenges facing graduates in their search for work? Followed by the audience brainstorming possible answers. This will, of course, depend on the size of the audience, as it may not be practical to do this. Participants may well come up with more items to add to the list that you can see. But here are some of the main problems facing students in today's job market. The current and future economic climate is bleak, with a global slowdown currently happening. With no one sure what is going to happen in the future, this can only spell bad news for the job market. Many universities across the world have already seen a downturn in the number of graduate recruiters coming on campus, and given the state of the economy, this situation isn't likely to improve quickly. This all means more graduates going for less jobs, making the search for work even more difficult. And with more graduates entering the job market every year, the recruitment bottleneck is probably going to make this situation even worse. You can then proceed to elicit responses to the question, how can you deal with this situation? You can keep eliciting until the audience provides an answer similar to in other words, equip ourselves with skills needed. Remember to highlight that apart from their education or degree, skills are also very important. Ask participants what kind of skills they feel are needed at the workplace. Once again, you can elicit responses until you get the response English language skills. Emphasize that among other skills, communication skills are also very important. In the next phase of the seminar, you can introduce each of the skills with a few examples of how they are used at the workplace. So, for example, you will need speaking skills to take part in discussions, make presentations, and interact with customers or clients. You'll need writing skills for writing short documents. These could be memos, notes, or emails. Writing longer documents, for example, letters, faxes, reports, or proposals. Also writing in both formal and informal styles. And finally, responding to written or graphic input. If we consider reading skills, you'll need these to read graphs and charts, skim and scan texts like reports, and read business articles for specific information. For listening skills, you may need these to take part in discussions and follow instructions. I'm sure you can think of many more examples. Having done this, you can ask the question on the slide. Are you equipped with these skills? Now, you may possess excellent communication skills, but even if this is true, how will you prove this to your employer? Maybe you'll answer the question that your communication skills need improvement. But again, how are you going to go about improving this? Well, the answer to both these questions is BEC Business. So, just to reiterate, good business English skills are no longer an advantage. They have become an absolute necessity. Your technical knowledge may be fantastic, but without good communication skills, you are not really hireable. So in this competitive job market, candidates need to have an edge over other candidates. And what can tip the balance is the BEC Business exam. BEC itself stands for Business English Certificate, and it's brought to you by the Cambridge Assessment English arm, which is part of Cambridge University. As it's part of University of Cambridge, the brand Cambridge itself has a certain degree of value. Note that Cambridge University is one of the oldest and most reputed universities in the world. Cambridge Assessment English is the leading English language testing agency in the world, with a full range of examinations. For example, there's the main suite exams, BEC Business that we're currently considering, a Young Learners exam, and also the popular IELTS, to name but a few. These exams are for a wide range of user profiles. At the heart of all its examinations, there are four crucial components. The first is exam validity. That is, the test score is an accurate reflection of a candidate's true level of language skills. There's also reliability. In other words, the results are stable, consistent, and accurate over time. We also consider impact. The effects, hopefully beneficial, on candidates and other users. For example, these could be employers, educational establishments, or public administrations. And finally, a crucial component is practicality. This is with reference to the resources needed to produce and administer the examination. So BEC Business pertains to the English language used in the working world. So in addition to assessing a candidate's ability in reading, writing, listening, and speaking, the exams also assess their knowledge of language structure and usage. All of the Cambridge exams mentioned are aligned with the CEFR. So what is the CEFR? Well, it's a system for defining language learning, teaching, and assessment. It was developed between 1993 and 1996, so it stood the test of time. The CEFR aimed to formalize in one framework what many different teaching and assessment providers had already done, in their different ways for many years. For example, they could have been used in levels such as elementary, pre-intermediate, and advanced. It is comprehensive, transparent, and coherent. The CEFR covers all levels from beginners to proficient users of the language. It is clear and simple to understand and logical in its design. It's used by Cambridge Assessment English to map language assessments to a recognized international standards. So all Cambridge exams are mapped to the CEFR, thus making our assessments easy to quantify in terms of level of difficulty. You can see on the screen that the dark blue column in the middle concerns the BEC Business exams. They range from the CEFR level B1 through to B2 and finally C1. Let's now have a look at a short video which reinforces the CEFR concept.
As a language learner or teacher, you may have heard of Common European Framework of Reference, or CEFR. But what is it, and why does it matter for English language learners? It's actually pretty simple. Different learners have different levels of language ability, but opinions about your English level can be subjective. Your friends may think your English is good, but an employer might think it is not good enough, and you may be better at some skills than others. For example, you may be able to read better than you can speak. We need a clear, objective way to describe language skills that everyone can agree on. This is what the CEFR provides. The CEFR breaks down language learning into 6 levels, which it calls A1 to C2. The starting point, A1, describes a very basic language level. As a learner, you can move up the levels until you reach proficiency, C2 level. This is a really advanced level. By describing what you can do in reading, writing, speaking and listening, the CEFR will tell you where you are on the journey from beginner, A1, through to proficiency, C2. There are many Cambridge English exams available for different ages and stages of learning, all matched to CEFR levels, from young learners through to university and the workplace, or simply for travel. The CEFR was developed by the Council of Europe with extensive support from University of Cambridge ESOL examinations. People from all over the world use the CEFR to explain what level of English they are at and what level of English they need. It is used by learners, teachers, universities, governments and employers. The CEFR has been very influential, and not only in Europe. It's been published in more than 35 languages, and descriptions of individual languages have also been developed. Cambridge is a partner in the English Profile programme, which provides very useful descriptions of English grammar and vocabulary at each level of the CEFR. Understanding your language level will help you to achieve your goal, whether it's going on holiday abroad, studying at school or university, or getting a job. And that's why the CEFR levels are useful for everyone.
So that was the CEFR levels. And hopefully they're a lot clearer where these levels of the BEC Business come from now. So to summarize so far, if we were to be asked what is BEC Business, well, we can say it's a range of internationally recognized certified examinations at 3 levels. Those are preliminary, Vantage and higher. All these are set in the context of international business, and they assess English language ability in the 4 skills of reading, writing, speaking, and listening. The examinations allow candidates to demonstrate their ability to communicate in English with clients and colleagues. Now, Cambridge Assessment English has a positive vision of English language assessment. This can be exemplified by a summary of ALTI, can-do statements. So what is ALTI? Well, the ALTE is a group of leading language testing organizations in Europe. Cambridge English is a founder member. ALTI members have developed a series of can-do statements for each CEFR level. The aim being to make examination to understand. The can-do statements describe what language users can typically do with the language at different levels, in terms of speaking, listening, and reading. Let's have a look at one such example. Here are typical can-do statements at the B1 level. Ways to the business. Some of read reading and writing. As we know, the exam tests someone's ability in all 4 skills of reading, writing, listening and speaking across 3 levels. That's preliminary, Vantage and higher. We can see that the number of parts and the time involved increases. Most can-based test. Both the reading and writing test are a pen and paper test. The listening test involves listening to an audio and doing a pen and paper test. The speaking test involves a face-to-face interaction. Note, a computer-based test is also available. The reading, writing, listening sections are done on computer, but the speaking is done face-to-face. Now, some people find this advantageous to do a computer-based exam as opposed to a pen and paper one, because there is more flexibility of test dates. Also, you can register much nearer the exam date itself. And there's a very easy to understand user-friendly interface. Now, the BEC Business exam will give you the knowledge and skills to communicate effectively in the workplace. Therefore, there are a range of relevant business-related topics covered in the BEC Business exams. You can see they cover things like giving presentations, problem solving, negotiating, telephone skills. These are just a few. It's important to know that this list is not exhaustive. Let's have a look at some examples from the papers to illustrate this point. This is an example of the BEC Business reading paper, taken from BEC Business Preliminary. As you can see, the topics used in the reading paper are all relevant, up-to-date, international in feel, and offer candidates insights into real business situations and business skills. Here we have an example of the BEC writing paper, taken from the Vantage paper. You can see the visual element because there's a graphic on this particular one, followed by some prompts. This is an example of the BEC listening paper, taken from the higher exam. It's important to note that BEC is an international business exam, and this is reflected in the accents used in the listening paper. As well as listening to a range of international business-related topics, candidates will also hear a wide range of accents, including native English speakers from all over the world. So they could be British, Canadian, Australian, or South African. Finally, this is an example of the BEC Business speaking paper, taken from the Vantage paper. Let's now move on to show how BEC Business scores are reported. This slide shows the front of the test report form. That is the TRF. It will contain the candidate's information. For example, the person's name. The candidate's grade. This will either be a pass or a pass with merit. A pass indicates a candidate has achieved a satisfactory level of performance. A pass with merit, in this case, the candidate has achieved a good level of performance. The CEF level is self-explanatory, and there's also some exam information, things like the date of the exam, the place, and the reference number. On the reverse, the candidate TRF shows information on the CEFR levels, and also the ALTI-CAN-DO statements that we talked about earlier. The details on the TRF are useful for the different organizations that recognize the BEC Business certificate. could include employers, a few of which are shown here. BEC Business is also recognized by several governments and educational institutions around the world. In the final section, let's look at some support details and support materials currently available from Cambridge English. Firstly, for students, there's a range of published material. There's a great deal of teaching material available for BEC and from all other major publishers. You'll also see past papers and examination reports. These can be ordered or downloaded from our website, which is given online. Finally, there's online support. Both teacher and student support websites are provided by Cambridge English. Now, the Candidate Support website is an excellent free resource for exam candidates. It contains a wealth of information, including basic information about BEC Business, further analysis of each part of the exam, and that's broken down into skills, an explanation of the item types used in each paper. There'll also be practice of each of these item types, and also information on what BEC candidates have said about the exam. Further support is also provided in the form of question papers and handbooks and information to candidates booklets. Now, specific to the BEC Business exam, there's a good orientation app, and this is an additional free resource available to all those preparing for the BEC Business examinations. The app contains short downloadable videos to help candidates understand the exam pattern, the logic behind the questions, exercises, and links to additional study resources. All the videos are in an engaging story format, with three main characters: a learner, a trainer, and a senior learner. The app is designed to help students have a better understanding of the exam pattern, types of questions asked, and why, along with revision exercises and exam preparation tips. So, to finish off, do remember that there's a range of online support available. And on that note, I'd like to thank you for attending this webinar.